Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Buck Brief. This episode, my friend Michael Malice is back. You all get very excited when he is here to hang out. He is insightful. He is irreverent. He is feisty for a guy his size. You'd never guess.
I don't think big dudes can be feisty. Is that a thing?
You know, I'm just starting off right here on the right foot, my friend.
Can a big guy be feisty?
I think only little guys can be feisty.
Right. You can't be feisty if you're big. It doesn't read.
No, I'm saying you're feisty for. Oh, I see what you're saying. All right, whatever. Fine. Look at him. He even blunts my feisty comment. So where should everyone go first off, Michael, to see your latest work? Where can they follow you before we jump into all this?
Twitter.com/Buck Sexton.
Oh, okay. Well, fine. Tell them to promote me, or you can check out Michael Malice's stuff. So, it seems to me that we have a dementia patient who has been president for 4 years. I think that's now established, right? That's not hyperbole. It's not like everyone agrees on this. And they forced us to talk about it. I feel mean talking about it.
It is hyperbole because he wasn't getting treated, so he's not a patient. Dementia aficionado.
He's a dementia connoisseur? Come on, dude.
Yeah. He's not a patient. No one's treating him.
Hold on. To be fair, there was the neurologist that happened to suddenly go to the White House 6 times or whatever. Remember, Alex Berenson broke that, and the New York Times stole it from him. So, okay, but I see your point. Technically,
hi, everybody. Everything's fine with the president. See you next year.
Technically, Biden is doing like homeopathic remedies for his dementia. So anyway, that's what's he's taking some tinctures and
Buck. Apparently, the cure for dementia is Chinese money. Who knew?
Who knew? So he's still the president too, which I mean, I didn't think we were in a serious country anymore, but we used to think we were maybe. That's going on. Now it seems that if they can make Kamala Harris president, my theory to you, I want to just put this to you and let you run with it, Michael. If they can do that, if they can make Kamala president, they can make anyone president, and that it's just the machine and that nothing else matters.
Well, okay. First of all, everyone watching this will agree that Biden didn't win 2020. It was the Democratic machine, and it was anti-Trump. There weren't Biden fans. It was just people who were like, I'm going to vote for the Democrat, whoever it is. I'm not going to vote for Trump. If Fetterman could get elected, anyone could get elected, right? Number one. Number two is you and I both would agree that Nancy Pelosi understands politics better than either of us, how Washington really works. And we also would agree that whatever information we have, she has, and she has some more. So if she's saying something and I'm saying something else, like I'm missing something, and I'm missing something with this nominee from Netflix, because she couldn't even make Iowa when she tried. Her entire, Hillary Clinton, with a lot of negatives, people went to jail for Hillary Clinton. People refused to testify against her, maybe for fear for their lives, but they ride or die with her. Kamala Harris, her office is like a sieve. People are leaking all the time about what a horror show she is. So I don't see how they're excited or why she was their plan B. It's not making sense to me. And when something's not making sense to me, that tells me I'm missing something.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not exact on the numbers, but that of the roughly 40 people in the vice president's office that are like specifically working for the vice president on her staff, 5 of them were there in the beginning. She's gone from about 40 down to 5 who have. It's not like it's been that long. It hasn't even been 4 years yet.
Right.
Yeah, I think that tells you a lot.
I'm also curious if the speechwriters hate her, because if you read her speeches, it reads like she's reading bedtime stories to wheelchair kids, because she's like, space is around us and connects us, and it's important, but we need rules. It's like, I've done professional ghostwriting. You don't write like that if you like the person. You write like that if you want to set them up to be an idiot and they're too stupid to realize the difference.
Yes. Like if somebody, say, had ghostwritten a book for someone about meeting Kim Jong-un in person during a congressional delegation, that was that. And then, just so you know, Michael, if you get caught in your memoir saying you met personally, physically with Kim Jong-un and stared him down, if anyone points that out, then you're supposed to go on TV and say, I won't talk about my meetings with world leaders. That was honestly the best. That was the best. That was one of my favorite political moments of the entire year. It was honestly like, instead of just saying, I'm sorry, I was lazy, ghostwriter, whatever, it was defiance.
Do you know what it was? She shot that dog because the dog knew too much.
Oh, dude, dog jokes. I like dogs. He's going to get me. This is what happens. Michael gets me in trouble. He starts saying things. He starts being sassy. No, you're not with me, but you offend the audience. And they're like, why did you let him say that? I'm like, I don't know. He's Michael Malice. I just can't.
She's the one who killed the dog.
Oh, I know. But I'm saying people get very sensitive about dog stuff.
They should.
I agree. I thought it was terrible. That was the end. And there were people who were doing the whole, well, she was going on TV like, well, on the ranch, that's how we do things. And I was like, come on. And then the Kim Jong-un thing happened. Anyway, I know it's all rearview mirror now. She's not Trump's VP. JD Vance is. Actually, I want to ask you about that. But hold on. Quick sponsor read. Sure. But Michael, tell me about where you think JD Vance. Does it work? Will he help? All that. We'll get to that in 1 second. I'm sure you've read Hillbilly Elegy too, so we'll talk about this. But a good friend of mine and business partner, Porter Stansberry, did something very unusual. He's the founder and CEO of a large public company that does hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue every year, and he cut his salary to $1 single. Now, he did this to make a point to his employees, but also to you out there, and he wants to share with you why that is. He thinks there's a new way that you can save and get paid now. It's not gold or Bitcoin. It's what he calls a secret currency, and it's one that's made some people already very, very rich, and everyone's entitled to use it, and anyone can access it. I strongly recommend you check out Porter's latest detailed presentation on the secret currency at secretcurrency2024.com. He details how to protect and grow your wealth in the years to come using America's new money. Secretcurrency2024.com. That's secretcurrency2024.com. All right. So, my friend, JD Vance, what do you think of it?
The more I hear about him, the more I like him, because if you follow his journey, he starts out as really like the worst kind of Republican. I'm going to vote for Evan McMuffin. I don't trust Trump, blah, blah, blah. And as time goes on, he's clearly become radicalized, as many people on the right have become. As recently as 2020, I went through all his old tweets because, unlike journalists, I actually like doing my research. And he's saying things like, oh, turns out the Minnesota governor is saying a lot of these riots are caused by outside agitators. And then like 5 minutes later goes, the Minnesota governor overestimated the number of people who are outside agitators. I wonder how he got the numbers wrong. And he wasn't being sarcastic. But now, and especially Buck, as you and I know, the corporate press is the end of the people. You can't put anything past them. They've started going after his wife like immediately.
Yeah.
And when you start immediately going after people's family, remember when they said that Ron DeSantis should quit because he took a day off to help his wife with her cancer treatments? Like, there's no low these people won't sink to. I think when you see that start happening, you realize, oh, okay, I'm in for a fight. These people aren't playing around. Trump obviously almost recently got assassinated. Like, this is serious business. And that recent quote just made me fall in love with him when he said that the Democratic Party is made up of childless cat ladies like AOC, Pete Buttigieg, and Kamala Harris. I'm like, all right, this is my guy. So Trump did not have a big bench to choose from because anyone who's running for Trump is going to have their life try to be destroyed. So as far as the people he had to pick from, him or Burgum, I think would have probably been the best bet. And the more I see of Vance, the better he seems to get. And I think he'd do great in a debate.
Do you think that we are seeing at a very like macro level, even beyond just this election cycle, are we seeing a course correction a bit as a nation from where we were with the madness of COVID and everything? I remember you and I were talking about that at the time. I did your show a few times. Haven't been invited back in a while. Just saying. I don't know what that's all about, but somebody does Rogan 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden, like the little people, we get left behind. Eight times. Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there. Anyway, but back to the course correction, it feels to me like things did actually get, like the left did go so insane that there's a solid majority of the country now that is walking away from that stuff in meaningful ways. And I think Elon Musk and the Silicon Valley stuff is a part of that.
I can prove you correct in one sentence. Or 2 sentences. 2 years ago, if you said Trump kind of sucks, I don't like him, he shouldn't have been president, you're a Trump supporter. Because unless you say Donald Trump is the worst thing that's ever happened to America, you're treated as a Trump supporter. You have to at all times say he's the worst thing ever. For Mark Zuckerberg, who is a big Democratic donor. Facebook is very heavily left-aligned in terms of their ideology. For him to go on TV and call Trump awesome, to praise Trump at all, and not to have his entire life ruined, shows a sea change. Support for Donald Trump has become normalized, which if this was 3 years ago, you and I would have thought that will never happen, or it won't happen as long as he's in the arena. Like George W. Bush, now it's okay to support him now that he's long gone. So that is a massive sea change. And the other point I want to make to you and encourage your audience, conservatives don't know how to take a win. When something like this happens, the New York Times isn't going to point it out, and then conservatives don't notice it, and they just go on thinking, well, we're never going to take a win. This is a win. Like, own it and think about how you got this win and build on it.
Elon said something very profound. I forget. I think it was actually on a Babylon Bee podcast, but I can't remember now exactly. It was a while ago. But he said that that what's happened is Silicon Valley, which had the most left-wing politics, really Bay Area, right? San Francisco Bay Area, it's where Silicon Valley is, same thing. Most progressive politics in the entire United States, and became the most culturally dominant, richest center of influence in the entire nation in a very rapid, people talk about Wall Street money, like Silicon Valley money in our politics and everything blows Wall Street money out of the water. And how that has really infused itself into our politics in a way that's, I think, very damaging. He thinks it's very damaging too. But when he said recently, he was talking to Jordan Peterson about how the trans agenda stole his son from him. It feels like Elon has, I don't know. He has been red-pilled in the most profound way, which is when they go after your family, which is what they've done.
Didn't they say killed? I think they said killed.
I think he might have. Yeah, I think he might have said that his son is gone, or he killed his son because, that they killed his son.
Something that goes with what you're saying, which is Silicon Valley is going to be very overrepresented with white males who are pretty high on the spectrum. And then when they're building these companies and they're working 20 hours a day, and now they're being demonized and told to hire people simply on the basis of their gender or skin characteristics, when these people are so logical, they're only looking at resumes. They don't even regard other people as humans at all, but as inputs into a system they're building. That is going to cause a huge amount of backlash. We saw that with James Damore when he was trying to have that paper he wrote for Google, try and hypothesize why there's a gender disparity in terms of hiring outcomes. And he was basically called a white supremacist Nazi when he's just looking. I met him. This guy is basically a robot. So for him to be accused of these, horrific things just because he's using his extremely logical brain to try to figure a problem, speaks to a blowback in their faces. Mark Andreessen's another one. He publicly came out and saying, I'm on the Trump train, and he's not being destroyed either. So this could not have happened. The idea, remember, people were losing their companies because they refused to have the Black Lives Matter logo on their Instagram. The guy from CrossFit, which is the nation's biggest gay exercise organization, said, we're about exercise. We have nothing to do with politics. He got ruined because he said something very true. We're not about politics. We're just about getting people into shape and getting them injured. So that is a big sea change as well.
Yeah.
And did you see Black Lives Matter came out against Kamala Harris?
I did see a headline about that. What's that all about? Because she was raising money for them.
No, well, first of all, the second they got inaugurated, they were publicly complaining that they couldn't get their calls returned, which was hilarious. They wouldn't even have like some perfunctory meeting. And now they tweet, they go, this is not democratic. This is ridiculous. And it's a disgrace to all the voters that you just basically take for granted. So it's a wonderful thing that's happening on the Democratic Party.
So Kamala used Black Lives Matter to get in and then betrayed Black Lives Matter once she got it. Right. I mean, that's basically how that went.
And the whole party, because they're like, yeah, we're just going to give it to her, who got no votes.
Yeah, let's talk about that for. I want to ask you if the last thing I have for you, Michael, we only have a few minutes, but the last thing I have for you is to tackle this notion of the defense of democracy line for Democrats. Is that just falling apart in this election cycle because of what's happened? We'll get to that in a second, but I am a firearms enthusiast, as you all know, and I love going out to the range. I go with my brothers. I have a couple friends, a couple of former Spec Ops guys who go out and train us a little bit and make sure that our skills are getting better. Bear Creek Arsenal is my favorite new firearms manufacturer. Based in North Carolina, they have firearms that are at the best possible price and the highest possible quality. You combine those two things, I'm telling you, you will love Bear Creek Arsenal. Go check them out. Wide range of premium calibers at a fraction of what the competition cost you. Learn more at bearcreekarsenal.com/Buck. Use promo code Buck to get 10% off your first order. That's bearcreekarsenal.com/Buck. Use promo code Buck for 10% off your first order. Democracy is under attack. Biden even said it in his farewell speech when he wasn't just kind of mumbling nonsense. Does that work anymore? Is it going to work in this election?
Yes, because when they mean democracy, they mean their control. So when they say Trump is a threat to our democracy, they mean Trump is a threat to our control, which is true. So that is the term is absolutely nebulous in its meaning, and that is the kind of subtext that they mean, and their voters will fall for it hook, line, and sinker to a point. You're going to always start with what, like about 38% people vote Democrat, no matter who it is. So that's not a small number. But in terms of getting her across the finish line, it's really funny watching the corporate propaganda. MSNBC, CNN, Republicans are freaking out. The Hill right now is like they couldn't even. The best they could say is Kamala's gaining steam in these swing states. She's still behind, but not behind as much. If you have your big launch and you're starting behind, by all accounts, the more people who listen to her like her less. It happened when she got inaugurated. It happened during the campaign in 2020. And it's going to be hilarious watching it collapse over the next few months.
How do you feel about this assertion? Kamala Harris's primary constituency, media executives, and DEI officials.
Someone had a great meme of Rotten Tomatoes. Critics, 87% approval. Audience, 13% approval. She's like an art house film.
Yes. Oh my God. That's what I was getting at. But I completely agree with that. Go check out Michael Malice's show, You're Welcome, which is fantastic. He even occasionally has the amazing guest Buck Sexton on. Occasionally. Once every 5 years. Because, that's all right. He can give you a rough time on it. He made me sit on his show once in a chair that was so small that everybody thought that I was like truly vertically challenged. So yeah, see, we all, the audience, they all remember this.
No one looks at that head and thinks you're vertically challenged.
I was going to say, we almost got through a whole episode without you making fun of my giant head. Do you know that I have to order special hats for baseball and tennis because they don't fit? It's sad.
Direct from Easter Island, where you're from.
All right, everybody. Go check out Michael Malice. You're welcome. Michael, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.